Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, we're gonna be playing some popular titles on the Onexplayer X1 PRO and going over its pros and cons, the usual stuff. So let's get into it, shall we? Now, I had the Onexplayer X1, not the Pro over here, which is very similar for a good few months, half a year actually, and it's been my favorite handheld PC ever since I got it. Mainly because of its pretty good specs with a Ryzen 7 8840U and a Radeon 890M, and also because of its beautiful 10.95 inch display or 11-inch display, and this is basically that on steroids. So we still got the same display. It's IPS, very bright, 1600p resolution. That's 2560 by 1600 resolution at 120 Hz. So buttery smooth display here if you can actually achieve those refresh rates. But on the specs front, this also improves compared to the X1. Now we have a Ryzen AI 9 processor, the X370, with the Radeon 890M iGPU, which is a pretty good bump in performance. The X1 Pro also comes with a minimum of 32 gigabytes of RAM. My version here is the 32 gigabyte plus 1 terabyte, and it comes in at $1,359. So it's really expensive of a device, but I mean, this is just a glorious handheld PC experience with a couple of drawbacks here and there, but we'll go over them in the gaming part of this video. Now, one thing that I really liked as an improvement compared to the X1 is that now the controllers are actually really sturdy and stable and they don't disconnect whatsoever, even when you are holding the device with one hand. That's something that the Onexplayer X1 had some really big issues with. If you moved your hands around a lot, it would sometimes disconnect the controllers because of some wobbling, but now that's been completely fixed and that is actually pretty amazing. As you can see, I'm actually holding it with one hand on the controller alone, and it is not moving and going anywhere. That's really nice. Now, going over the I/O, on the left side of the device, you'll find a couple of USB-C ports. It's USB 4, and below that, we got one of the two connectors for the controllers. They also give you a little plasticky thing that you can cover those ports with if you're using it in a laptop or tablet mode, for example. And on the top, we find the power button, which doubles as a fingerprint scanner. The PC also has Windows Hello, by the way, so you can unlock it with facial recognition. On the right of that, you have the volume rocker. Then you have a little flap over here that reveals the headphone jack, as well as an Oculink connection if you want to utilize their external GPU for even more performance. And then on the far right, you got the turbo button, which is a very nice addition, guys. You click that, it brings up a lot of options for you to fiddle with. The performance TDP, which goes from 4 watts all the way up to 30 watts. Moving on to the right of the device, we got a USB 3.2 Type A port, full-sized, alright. I really like to see that, especially on a tablet 3-in-1 device like this one. Below it, we got a micro SD card slot, which can go up to 2 terabytes. And on the middle of the device there, we also have another connection for that controller. Finally, all the way on the bottom, we find the magnetic connection to the keyboard. As you can see, it doesn't really stay there very well, but whenever you have it in laptop mode, it's absolutely fine. It doesn't go anywhere. The keyboard itself is nice. It's a little bit flexible, you know, it has some flex when you press the keys, but nothing to worry about. I like to have this feature a lot, and I like that I can actually make it a laptop whenever I want. It makes things much easier to troubleshoot whenever there's some problems and stuff like that inside of games and inside of Windows, because Windows and handheld devices, yeah, they don't like each other very much. So this is definitely a lifesaver sometimes. Now, I mentioned this is a 3-in-1 device a lot, and that's because you can actually use it as a tablet. If you just remove the controllers right here, they're way more sturdy, so they're more difficult to remove and stuff. It's especially nice to play games like Balatro or Slay the Spire, which you can play all the way through with touch inputs. So we got a bunch of detachable things over here. It's the controller, it's the keyboard, but this little part over here also comes off. It's magnetic, it's the stand. I wish this was a little bit more adjustable, or maybe I wish it was integrated into the tablet itself. That would have been a pretty nice touch, but it works. It does the job absolutely fine. As another extra, you also have a battery for the controllers with an RF emitter as well, so you can connect it via USB-A to another PC if you want to, or to this one, and play with the controller on your hands like an Xbox controller, for example, you know. They thought of a bunch of different ways that you would interact with this thing, and I think it's pretty well done. In terms of the charger, it comes with a 100-watt charger. It charges the 65 watt-hour battery 50% in 30 minutes. That's quite nice. And the battery capacity itself has 16,890 milliamp hours per hour. So that's quite a big battery there. However, it doesn't last that long because of the huge screen that it got to power up, as well as pretty nice specs. But it's definitely enough to push like 2.5, 3 hours out of it at max speeds and TDP, 30 watts. Obviously, if you lock it to like 15 watts, you get double of that. And depending on the game, it will also consume more or less energy. So battery life is something that will vary a lot from person to person and with different use cases. Lastly, guys, one little drawback that I saw compared to the Onexplayer X1 is that you can't really allocate more than 4 gigabytes of VRAM. You can't really touch that. Maybe it's because this is a prototype unit, because I could actually allocate more VRAM with the X1, but this one will be stuck at 4 gigabytes, unfortunately, and it did cause a little bit of an issue in a couple of titles. But let's play the games now and see how they run on the Onexplayer X1 PRO. Shall we? And first up we got the good old GTA 5, but this is actually the new enhanced edition of it with ray tracing, but well, I got ray tracing disabled. This is an iGPU, so you might as well disable that. Let's go over the settings first, and right here you can see that we're playing at 1920 by 1200 resolution, 120 Hz of course, using the high settings preset with FSR 3 set to quality, and everything else is either set to high or very high, as you can see. This is just the preset. I disabled motion blur though, but that's about it. And if I bring it up close to the camera, as you can see, it actually looks really, really sharp, even though this is not the native resolution, once again, of the display. But yeah, since it's a small display at 11 inches, PPI is really high, so even with FSR quality and a lower resolution than native, it still looks really good. Also, let's start counting our FPS right now. I got an external keyboard connected over here, so yeah, I can start and stop recording the FPS and so on. But yeah, as you can see, around 69 on average right away, pretty good. And in terms of stability, it's also pretty stable. There are some little spikes there in the frame time graph, by the way, here and there, but they're not really noticeable whatsoever. And I guess it's going to be a really smooth experience. Let's keep on going though. Maybe in Jack's Hill things are going to become a lot more intensive as usual, you know, because that's a very grassy area with Bob's bushes, and we all know that Bob's bushes lower our FPS by quite a lot. Alright, here we go. In this area, we got a lot of NPCs showing up. Goodbye, sir. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, I saw a little bit of aliasing on the rails, by the way, on top of the bridge, but it was minor, really, and to my eyes, it looks really, really good, especially at the distance that I'm playing right now, and that you would usually play on a handheld device like this. 11 inches at 1200p, even with FSR, again, looks fantastic. Let's keep on going, though. 70-ish FPS, couple of bigger spikes there in the frame time graph, but not noticeable. It's also a little bit harder to notice some little spikes here and there if you are playing on a handheld device like this. Also, dropping into the 50s slightly, but not by much, guys. And we got Jacqueline right there. Hello, Jacqueline. It's really slow, like moving the camera around and stuff. Mouse and keyboard is much better, at least to me. But yeah, it works. It works very well. well, there we go. Bob's Bushes right here. And we just crashed, of course, but we can see the worst case scenario, basically. Bob is not here. This is terrible. But guys, if you paid attention, we were at 30 watts all of the time right there on the graph, and that's because the Onexplayer is now set to 30 watts. And if I wanted it to be a little bit of a quieter system, as well as getting a little bit more battery life out of it, I would probably keep it at 15 watts. And we're now back to GTA, exactly the same settings, 15 watts as you can see there. Instantly, I can tell a major difference in terms of that fan speed and noise. It's really quiet right now. Oh, they wrecked our tire already. And as you can see, that drops our FPS by a little bit. Let's start counting the frames again. Here we go. My God, come on, get out of the way. And I mean, I'm not sure if it will ever stutter with these. What are you doing? Are you drunk driving or something? Okay, we're doing the police's work, I guess. No, you see what I did there? I prevented that girl from drunk driver. Whatever. Yes. Anyways, let's keep on going here. 50 FPS. So it's a drop of about, 15 frames per second or something like that. That's not too bad. I mean, it's not 60 FPS all of the time anymore, but we're still with exactly the same settings. It looks great like this. And we only lost a little bit of FPS. I think this is actually how I'd play this. First of all, you save a lot of power, of course, and battery life will improve with 15 watts. Second of all, it's still a smooth experience. It doesn't really stutter at all, and it's stable. You can see the frame time graph there. Very nice. And third, and most importantly, at least to me, because the fan noise actually annoyed me quite a bit when I was playing this with other titles as well, mostly indie titles, which is what I like to play on these handheld devices. And here, you can't even hear it. I mean, I'm gonna put it close to my microphone now. Now you can hear it a little bit, but yeah, it's really quiet like this, and I think they've done a great job at 15 watts as well. It stays cool, as you can see, and it actually is basically silent right now in terms of fan noise, actually, not speed. So GTA 5 is definitely a go, once again. If you want higher performance, you can still achieve 60 FPS. If you don't care about higher performance and you just want a little bit more battery life and the quieter system overall, yeah, go for this. It still works absolutely fine. Next up, we got The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, recently released on PC, and we're playing at 1280 by 800 resolution with the upscaling set to XeSS quality, okay, and the medium settings preset, because on low settings it starts looking pretty rough. And this is it, guys. It's getting 40-ish frames per second, but there is an issue. We're already seeing it. It stutters like crazy. It's actually a pretty bad experience here in The Last of Us Part 2 when it stutters. Otherwise, you get 40-ish frames per second. I also tried it at 1920 by 1200 resolution, 1200p. It does look considerably sharper at that res. Right now, if I zoom in, or actually get this close to the camera, you can see things are pretty soft and blurry, right? But it's not completely unplayable in terms of graphics either. The lighting still looks really nice. The shadows are meh, they're a bit muddy, but overall it's still a pretty game like this, even at 800p resolution. And as long as that frame time stays stable, it's going to be a nice experience. The problem is, as soon as you start seeing some more NPCs on screen or loading a new area, basically this game actually handles the shaders on the background, the compilation of shaders while you play it, and in those occasions, it's gonna get wrecked. It's actually going to get 1% lows in the teens. I've actually seen that previously. Also, I started this at 1200p resolution, and it was dropping from 30 FPS very often, even with XeSS quality or FSR quality, which is what I tried. FSR performance did give us 3 more FPS than FSR quality, so it's not worth utilizing the performance modes, by the way, at a higher resolution. Doesn't work very well, unfortunately. That's a bit of a shame, guys. Okay, we're here in a different area, just loaded this one. A little bit of a stutter there while zooming in. Start counting the FPS as well. Alright, run around for a little bit. Okay, another big stutter. 17 FPS, 1% lows for a second there. I think I've already killed all of the people in this area, though, in this save game, so, can't really see a ton of NPCs, unfortunately. Maybe in that direction. Let's try that out, okay? Let's try to hit them bastards, okay? There we go. Yeah, that's a massive stutter there. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, this is so bad, actually. The aiming with mouse and keyboard is already terrible in this title, but with the controllers, even worse. Especially with aim assist, because that just goes all over the place. All right, anyways, there we go. Well, at least we did it. It's all good right now. Did we kill all of them? Are there more in this direction, maybe? I don't know. So yeah, I guess if you can handle a couple of stutters, big ones, from time to time, it's going to be fine. Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is still playable. Those reflections look terrible, by the way. Next up, we got Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This is a really well-optimized title. We're at 1200p resolution using medium settings, FSR quality here, and yeah, this is just the medium settings preset, so everything is set to medium. Now, this is looking pretty good. It's a little bit soft. If I bring it up to the camera once again, you can see it's not amazing. Native resolution definitely looks better, but on a smaller display like this one, it works fine, in my opinion. And let's run around here with Roach for a little bit. So we're getting 40-ish frames per second, which is very acceptable for this game. Yes, it's a first-person shooter. Higher FPS would have been nicer, but on medium settings, you still keep the good-looking graphics. You still keep the good sharpness from FSR quality at 1200p resolution. It's not amazing. It's a little bit soft, but it's still way sharper than like 800p, obviously. And it looks totally acceptable to me. And let's just gallop a little bit here. It's really, really smooth of an experience as well. If you look at that frame time graph, we've seen a stutter or two already that weren't really quite noticeable anyways. So yeah, I think Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is definitely a go with a little system like this. It's also one of my favorite games that have come out this year. Absolutely fantastic game. Anyways, around here in forest areas with a ton of vegetation and stuff, it's dropping into the 30s. Inside of bushes, it's only mid-30s though, so it's still pretty acceptable in my opinion. This doesn't have frame generation though, so we can't really try to make it smoother, but I mean, this works absolutely fine anyways. Getting these graphics on a handheld device and being able to play one of my favorite games this year right here on my hands and bring this with me everywhere I go, and being able to play on like long trips on the train or something like that, it's actually really nice. You just pop in some headphones and maybe the people near you are going to be a little bit annoyed because of the fan speed, the noise, the noise from the fan. It's not the speed crisp, it's the fan noise. All right, but let's stop it there and let's try it with 15 watts right now to see if we can have a more quiet experience, especially important in those public transportations and stuff. But yeah, this way you would actually need to lower down the settings. As you can see, 30 FPS, but it's dropping quite a lot. If you're fine with 30, it's not too far off of a 30 flat experience, honestly. So let's try just lowering the settings down to low over here. Good thing about this game is it actually applies everything on the go. So now we're on the low settings preset, still with FSR quality. I prefer to sacrifice the graphics a little bit in this case than the resolution, because again, it's already a little bit soft. Totally acceptable, but yeah, definitely a little bit soft anyways. And now with 15 watts of power, we're getting 40-ish frames per second. That frame time is really weird now, but it was still smooth there. Couldn't really notice the micro stutters that happened. So that's fine. Let's go, Roach. Go over here. On top. Let's go. Let's go. Faster, buddy. Faster. You can do it. No, Roach. Oh, God damn it. Okay. Flashbacks to Red Dead Redemption 2's Roach. Where is he, though? I'm hearing wolves. That's definitely terrible. We don't want wolves. Okay, I just wanted to see some intense vegetation. Maybe like these bushes here. 40s, 50s. Yeah, just dropping it down to low seems to make it super stable. And it still doesn't look terrible on a small display like this, you know? Obviously, the textures and everything are a little bit worse looking, but not bad. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 still looking acceptable, more than acceptable here on low settings. Next up we have Cyberpunk 2077, and surprisingly guys, look at that frame time graph. This is the least playable game so far. I thought it wouldn't be. I thought The Last of Us, for example, was going to be more intensive than this, especially given that this game actually ran pretty well on the Onexplayer X1. This one is the X1 PRO, so it should be better, right? But look at that frame time graph. It's all over the place. You can actually feel those spikes, those micro stutters everywhere. It feels terrible right now. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Let's go over the settings right now, and I'll show you that we're running at 1200p resolution, using the lowest settings possible with no upscaling right now. Okay, and no matter what I do, setting it to like 800p resolution, 1600p resolution, FSR performance, FSR quality, FSR auto, medium settings, high settings, it always has that huge stuttering problem. So yeah, look at this. It's pretty terrible. Start counting our FPS actually. Look at that, 1% lows in the teens already. And this doesn't go away because I have already ran the benchmark run. You know, I drive through the city for a little bit like this, and I've already done that for about 3 minutes before starting this recording to see if it would actually smooth out, which was the case in The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, you know. But here, it didn't really fix anything. It's exactly the same. Look at that. I'm going to stop it there, though, and I'm going to try it with quality FSR here. Apply that. Look at this. Exactly the same stuff. It does get higher FPS though, so the resolution scaling is definitely doing something. But the stuttering is way too much, guys. But yeah, it seems to be a little bit more stable right now with FSR quality in terms of 1% lows, but in reality it's still way too stuttery for it to be enjoyable, in my opinion. But let's try one last thing, okay? And that is locking the FPS. I'm going to be using the Rivetuner Statistics Server app, which is this right here, to lock our FPS. Going to type 30 right there. And now that's done. I'm going to disconnect the keyboard and go back to the game. So now we have flat 30 FPS, and hopefully it's going to be stable at 30 FPS all of the time without micro jittering and micro stuttering and stuff. But at least we've had a couple of stutters already. I'm not sure if it's going to be stable at 30. Even though our FPS were always above 30 previously, yeah, you can see it still has those little spikes here and there in the frame time graph. It's not great at all. So it still stutters, even with locked FPS. I don't know why this is. Could be because this is still a prototype. They got things to iron out. I remember playing with the Radeon 890M 54-watt version, though, with the Ajax 370 54-watt on a B-Link mini PC, and it was giving us really smooth frame rates in Cyberpunk. The best that I've seen so far in an iGPU. But here, I wish it was stable, guys. I really do. But it isn't. So I cannot recommend Cyberpunk 2077 in the Onexplayer X1 PRO, unfortunately. Next we got Hogwarts Legacy. I got the desktop running at 1200p resolution and XESS quality on top of it, which makes it 800p internally, upscaled to 1200 of course, which makes it look quite good, and the medium settings preset, and surprisingly this is usually a lot more CPU bound than Cyberpunk 2077 is. But this is playable, guys. Look at this. It's not skipping frames. It's not jittery. Yes, that frame time is not amazing, but it's way more stable than Cyberpunk was. 1% lows shouldn't really go into the 20s anymore, although it's very close. But yeah, moving the camera around like this, for example, doesn't show any jitter like it did in Cyberpunk. So it's actually going to be a pretty playable experience. And with XESS enabled, it's also looking pretty nice. It does a much better job than FSR in this particular title. Yeah, I do like it. For example, if we take a closer look right here, you can see the graphics. Obviously, you're not going to stand this close to the monitor ever, but yeah, there's a bit of pixelation around the vegetation on our feet, but aside from that, it looks good. at this size with XeSS quality enabled. So yeah, this is exactly what I'd utilize in this particular title. Now let's go with our broom. Let's go down there. It usually drops a lot here close to the water, and it does so here as well. 34 FPS so far has been the minimum. 1% lows are a little bit worse than that because of the variation in the frame time, but not terrible. It's 30 plus all of the time with medium settings. There's still a bit of headroom there. If you want to play on low, or if you don't mind to play on low settings, it's going to be fine. A little bit better, of course. And yeah, this is a game that I thought would be extremely bad on a system like this because of the stuttering that it usually has on desktops as well, with much more powerful CPUs drawing a ton of more power than this. But as you can see, it just gets even more stable here inside of the forest because it's nowhere near as CPU bound as the Hogsmeade area was. Oh, and since we're here, let's check it out with 15 watts of power. So see here, okay, so it drops things by quite a lot, doesn't it? Making it a cinematic experience. Yeah, not good. Clock speeds on the GPU are now at below 1 gigahertz, where previously with 30 watts they were at 2.2, 2.3 in this area, and the gameplay just becomes really choppy. However, it's still stable in terms of 1% lows and frame times. It's not the most beautiful frame time graph there, but I can't really feel any major stuttering. It's just really low FPS, you know? So yeah, it's better than Cyberpunk. That's for sure. I like this. I like this experience. Not with the 15 watts, obviously. For that, we'll need to drop down the settings, probably down to low, which is the minimum in this game already. Can't really disable any of these. Here we go. Back into it. Not bad in Hogsmeade, guys, which is usually, again, really, really demanding of an area. That makes CPUs melt, basically. And this one is doing fine. The game is not really utilizing a lot of CPU either, so around like 30%, 25-30%, going down to 19% sometimes as I was saying that. So yeah, the Ajax 370 as a CPU, even with 15 watts of power, is not a bottleneck here. Still see 98% GPU utilization. I wish they invented a little bit of a different cooling mechanism in these things on the X1 Pros. It seems like they could make it slightly thicker maybe and improve the cooling a little bit to push it maybe to like 45 watts instead of 30 watts. That would give it a pretty good performance uplift. But as it stands, as you can see, 30 watts is doable on medium settings, absolutely. And even at 15 watts, if you keep it on low settings, which still looks decent, not gonna lie, right? Yeah, it does work. A little bit more stuttery maybe, but it does work, and it is actually a playable experience. So I like that. Good stuff. And now we're playing Call of Duty Warzone, guys. Look at those FPS. It's actually really smooth at the moment because we got it set to the minimum settings preset, actually. But yeah, it doesn't stutter. It seems to be a pretty decent experience, very responsive as well. And it's quite nice, of course, for a first-person shooter like this, where you want to achieve high FPS and a good high refresh rate experience. Let's go over the settings now. We're playing at 1200p resolution using NIS on quality and sharpening at 30%, and everything else is set to the minimum. Oh no, no. Okay, buddy, please stop it. Okay, there we go. Oh, that was terrible. All right, thank God I'm playing against bots, by the way. Anyway, thanks for the weapon, buddy. Let's just switch this. Yes, okay. Let's go ahead and try. I want some armor. Yeah, there we go. You gotta hold for that. All right, this guy is coming for us. Come on. Okay, there's another one right there. Oh, this is terrible. All right, wait. Come on. Stop it. Oh, boy. I hate controllers. I wish I had a mouse and keyboard right now. Okay, there we go. At least we did it, guys. Oh, boy. Also, I tried the game with the texture set to medium first. Actually, it says normal. It's not medium in this game. And it was quite a bad experience. It was stuttering a lot, but after using very low textures and making the game look like a potato when it comes to textures, of course, yeah, it's buttery smooth. 65 FPS, 1% lows. I mean, can't ask for much better than that from a handheld device. It's actually really, really good, and it's a good improvement, I think, compared to the Radeon 780M, for example, even at the 30 watts that this is running at the moment. Really, really good and responsive, especially for a handheld device like this. I'm glad we don't need frame generations and stuff like that to achieve 60 plus all of the time. Yeah. Come on, come on, come on, almost. Oh, maybe he's shooting at us. Okay. All right, there's one here. Is definitely not the one. Okay, but we got him. Good stuff. There's a guy there. Okay, reload. Liking the graphics as well. Even though this is lowest settings for that competitive play, it actually looks decent, especially with that NIS sharpening and resolution scaling as well. It works well with high PPI monitors, better than FSR3 apparently. Alright guys, so I just dropped again to check it out in a different area. This is the downtown area of the game where I usually test it, and this is a full Battle Royale match with 150 players, or 145 right there. Yeah, as you can see, it's just the same in terms of smoothness, although GPU utilization now is a little bit lower sometimes, going down to like 90% a few times, but yeah, overall still a very responsive, very quick experience here, and it feels amazing. But I also wanted to check it out with the 15 watt of power here. So let's just go ahead and try that. We're getting 81 frames per second, and now with the 15 watts over there, it drops from 60 frames per second sometimes. So somewhere in the middle would be the best choice to achieve 60 FPS all of the time, and a little bit lower power utilization, as well as lower audio levels and noise. But yeah, even at 15 watts, as you can see, 50s doesn't really slow down by all that much. Obviously, it's very different from 70 plus frames per second all of the time, but it still feels really quick and responsive in terms of the inputs and stuff. Definitely what you'd want from a game like this. First-person shooter, it's very competitive and stuff. Oh my god, these are actual people right now, no bots this time around. I have no idea how that guy didn't get me, though. Oh, and now his friends got us, unfortunately. Also, pretty stable still, unless people kill you, and then it has a little stutter, like in these loading screens and so on. But yeah, most of the time, very, very nice. And I guess the sweet spot would probably be around like 20 watts of power. Yeah, jumped up from 60s into the 80s right now, so very, very nice. Oh boy, this gulag is gonna be terrible. I really hope I kill this guy. Yeah, come on, you bastard. There it is. Somehow that worked. All right, we're dropping again, far away from where we died in the downtown area, you know, but I guess dropping down here is also pretty decent. This area has a lot of loot, a lot of people sometimes. And as you can see, 70s, definitely way more stable than what we saw with 15 watts, and this is still very quiet like this as well. Yeah, it's very nice that we have this controllability, right? Like all the way up from 4 watts, which if you are interested in knowing how it runs with 4 watts, this is it. It's really bad. Okay, it's kind of impressive still that with 4 watts, or actually 5 watts, or 6 watts being reported there in MSI Afterburner, it can still run the game at 19 FPS, or like 15 to 20 FPS most of the time. It's still responsive, like there's no input lag turning the camera around and stuff. It's just that the FPS are extremely low. This is crazy. I wouldn't think that Windows would run on 4 watts, let alone Warzone. Very efficient indeed, and now it's completely silent. Yeah, the fan is not working at all. Good stuff, guys. Warzone is definitely a go, along with other Call of Duty titles on this machine. Okay, now we have God of War Ragnarok, and this one was a little bit of a disappointment because we're playing at 1200p with FSR quality. That's why it says 1280 by 800 there. That's the internal resolution, and we're using the low settings. I started at medium settings. I saw that it was getting 30 FPS and like flat 30 right here, so it would inevitably drop into the 20s. So low settings the way to go. Thankfully, it looks decent like this on low. Like, I can barely tell the difference, honestly, between low and medium settings. Maybe there's more details on medium, but still looks great to me. The thing is, you can see the frame time graph is a bit weird. The 1% lows are instantly in the 30s because of it, but I don't really see it stuttering or micro stuttering at all. It feels good to me. It feels responsive, feels nice and smooth, even though it's all like that, you know, it's pretty weird. But yeah, it will work, apparently. What is going on? What are you doing? Okay, no! It's turning on its own. Why are you turning on your own? What the hell? Okay, it's good now. So far, these controllers have been very reliable in other titles that I've been playing, mostly indies, once again, that aren't really fast-paced or anything. I've been playing a lot of War Groove in this one, because it's similar to Advanced Wars in the Nintendo's DS and Game Boy Advance and stuff like that. I just got into those games again recently. I love them. And this has a huge screen to play those on, and the controls are nice as well, and it never bugged out in those. So yeah, probably just a little one-off here in these couple of games. Yeah, as you can see right here in this area, it does drop into the lower 30s sometimes, or mid-30s, I guess. And you know what? The FSR implementation in this game is also pretty nice. I do like it, so FSR 3.1 is very viable of an option to utilize. You can see it right here. Take a look at the water, for example. Yeah, it's a little bit softer than native resolution, obviously, but on a smaller display like this, it is 100% fine. Now, I want to try it with some frame generation, because this is a single-player title after all, and frame generation will smooth out the frame rates and make it much more stable. Look at that, 60 frames per second. Ooh, it's jittery as hell. Or at least it was there. Maybe it was still applying. No, look at the bottom of the screen. It's actually really, really jittery. That's weird. All right. Anyway, in terms of responsiveness, feels quite nice. Nice and fast. I can't really feel the input lag. That's where this is actually pretty good, playing these games on handheld devices with controllers. Let's see it inside of the cave once again, so you can see yourselves again. Like, yeah, whenever the screens go dark, you can see the camera, and that's you, right? You guys are watching this through the camera. Anyways, there it is. You guys. Anyway, around here, still responsive. Yeah, not too bad. If you want those 60 plus FPS, that smoother experience, I'd say frame generation is actually working really well in games where the baseline is around 40 frames per second, as long as those are single-player titles. Let's try it with a little bit lower of TDP here. Let's do 15 watts. And now with frame generation, remember that, I can see quite a bit of artifacting now. Yeah, we're getting 40s, 50s, so it's about 10 to 20 frames per second lower. Look at that. That's really rough whenever we do this. We see a lot of artifacting, basically. I guess those lower frame rates on the bottom of the screen are just kind of artifacts around the water and stuff like that. Frame generation might not know what to do with it very well. But again, in terms of responsiveness, it's actually really good, even though it's below 60 FPS sometimes. Right now it's above 60 FPS, but over here, 50s. Not bad at all. I'd still consider that a really playable experience. And let's just turn off the frame generation altogether now and check it out just with these settings and 15 watts. We're in the 30s. So, yeah, dropping into the 20s. Damn. I didn't think it would be that bad, honestly, guys. Yeah, I mean, we're getting lower than 30 FPS very often and very consistently around this area. That's pretty bad. So in those scenarios, especially at 15 watts, I would totally enable frame generation. Even at 50 plus FPS with FG enabled, it was a way better experience than this dropping into the 20s sometimes. All right. Look at that over there again, 30 FPS, 31. It might actually drop around here. Not into the low 20s now, or high 20s actually. Oh, there we go, 29 frames per second. Gets more intensive there. So yeah, I mean, you got a lot of customizability, obviously, in terms of using FG, not using FG, using 15 watts, using like 20 watts once again, which is another nice little way to play a lot of these titles. I mean, it gives you quite a bit of a boost compared to the 15 watts stuff, while also keeping it quiet and not drawing as much battery, or power, actually. Yeah, very nice indeed. Not too terrible. And obviously over here with the frame generation, it would be even more stable than it was previously. But look at that input lag. There's no FG, 30 FPS, 35 frames per second. And now with FSR FG, we're up into the 50s. Input lag is not that different. That's super surprising. I'm actually really surprised about that. But anyways, God of War, although we need to sacrifice a lot in terms of the graphics, and I thought we wouldn't need to do so, as much at least, it is actually a pretty stable experience here, especially when using 30 watts and frame generation. It works pretty well. Next up is Stutter Night, and I first tried it in performance mode. That's what you're watching here, but it was a complete stutter fest, although a very high refresh rate experience stutter fest. But it's completely unplayable like this. I really didn't enjoy the experience, and I would need to play for about like 3 hours to load everything that there is to load inside of the game's world for it to not stutter as much in performance mode. So although it's possible to have extremely high refresh rate experiences here, which is super nice with its 120 Hertz display, but for more stability and for me to actually enjoy this game a little bit, we're here playing with DirectX 12 instead. And this is at the high settings as well to push that GPU up to the maximum, 1200p resolution, and on the anti-aliasing I'm actually utilizing XeSS quality, although since it's not really reaching 60 FPS, I'm gonna set it down to balanced right here, which is 50% resolution scale, so it's going to render the game at 800p and upscale to the 1200p resolution, which still looks pretty good and acceptable to me, as you can see. Obviously performance mode was at native resolution and that looked very, very sharp compared to this. Still, we can have pretty good visuals here on high settings, and it's sunset time actually, so the colors really pop. Look at that. It's beautiful in my opinion, and it is way more stable. If you look at a frame time graph, it's not amazing really because we're still dropping, but it's a lot more stable than the performance mode's graph. You know, a lot of people say that performance mode is the way to go, but I prefer my frames to be stable, my friends. Otherwise, it's gonna suck quite a bit. Also, let me start counting the FPS. Here we have it, and we got a car right away. That's great because I want to drive it around, see more parts of the map and more intensive areas with vegetations and stuff. We're also at the 30 watts of TDP, of course, especially in DirectX 12 that's needed, and even in performance mode I would still keep the 30 watts because this game is quite CPU bound in performance mode, as well as here it's also very CPU bound, so you'll need all of the CPU power that you can get, and having it at 30 watts assures that you get all of the power that it can get. So yeah, as you can see, pretty stable stuff right now. A couple of stutters here and there, going by this guy over here, but most of the time it's actually a stable experience here, and it's not much of a stutter night as it was before. This is what I find very interesting about handhelds. Fortnite at 50 FPS on a PC, mouse and keyboard, it would be pretty terrible in my opinion. And I've tried it a bunch of times at 50 FPS in tons of different graphics cards and PCs, and it was a pretty bad experience in my opinion. What the hell is that? Oh, it was one of those backpacky things, right? Yeah, okay, never mind. I thought it was a guy for some reason, but he was way too small. That's what she said. So yeah, on a PC with mouse and keyboard, competitive stuff, you know, 50 FPS does not feel good and it doesn't feel consistent, but here, on this handheld, it's snappy. Even with 50 FPS, it's snappy, it's instant. But anyway, what I want to say here is, for the price, this is Yeah, it's rough performance. Obviously, you can buy a PC or a laptop with like an RTX 4060 or 4070 that will absolutely stomp this thing. But the handheld experience is pretty interesting on this. It's well made. I like the big screen. I like the controls as well. And the performance is fine. Next up, we got Forza Horizon 5 at 1200p resolution using TAA and the high settings preset. And this game is usually very well optimized. Well, it is very well optimized. And as you can see, it's actually getting above 60 FPS pretty much at all times. Maybe in the city it will drop a little bit, but I'm seeing a little bit of stuttering here and there. I haven't seen that in a while actually in Forza, but usually with iGPUs, these spikes are a little bit normal actually. So yeah, 1% lows are actually pretty crappy, guys. That's a shame. That's a big shame because I think this is caused by the VRAM because we only have 4 gigabytes allocated to the iGPU and I can't really change it in the BIOS. There's no option for it. So yeah, we gotta lower the textures to achieve a smooth experience, guys. What a shame. So I'm gonna set these two options to low right here, save that, restart the game, and let's check it out again. And here we have it, guys. I got good news and some meh news. The meh news is we still have little spikes here and there in that frame time graph, so little stutters are still happening here, but the good news is they're farther apart and they're not as accentuated as they were before with the high textures. So the low textures are actually improving the experience quite a lot here. Again, I think it would be fixed if we could actually change the VRAM allocated to the GPU in this system. Oh my, okay, I thought we were going for a flip there, or a back flip actually, but it didn't work. Let's go, we're in the city area now. This should be dropping a little bit here. 70s, 60s. Alright, still not dropping from 60 frames per second though, so high settings at the 1200p resolution, which is close to 1080p actually, is super adequate for the Radeon 890M at 30 watts in Forza Horizon 5. Again, I thought it was going to be a smoother experience. In other titles, it was actually smoother than this, and usually Forza is one of the smoothest games that I test in my benchmarks. But yeah, even getting out of the tunnel, it doesn't drop from 60 FPS, so it's quite a good experience. It looks good still. Let me go to a forest area, or like area with vegetation, not forest. Yeah, stay right there so I can show you the graphics up close. You can see it's actually pretty sharp, probably one of the sharpest games that we've had here today because, well, we're at native 1200p resolution, and even though it's not the native resolution of the display, it actually works really well. Okay, I'm curious about 2560 by 1600, the true native resolution of this display. Let's stop the FPS counter right there, still using TAA here, and all right. Ooh, that's a massive stutter. Okay, let's start counting the frames. I think, yeah, it's probably just running out of VRAM again. Like, usually this doesn't matter because it's an iGPU, it's using RAM as VRAM anyways. So it's really weird to see it stutter this much, especially in Forza Horizon 5 once again. But yeah, if it wasn't for that 4 gigabyte allocated for the GPU, which sucks, honestly. I don't know why it comes like that, and I don't know why it doesn't allow us to change that, because the previous one did. It's probably because this is a prototype. We would actually be able to achieve 50s, 40s, and that's really playable still at native 600p with an iGPU. So, very impressive results. However, because of that VRAM issue, yeah, we get 1% lows off 7. And lastly, before we get to the conclusion, and I'll show you more games there, by the way, I got Red Dead Redemption 2. And yes, it's showing up right here. I got the keyboard connected so we can troubleshoot and easily navigate windows and stuff. But I got the 1600p resolution right there. It's also set to 100% scaling, so it's really tiny right now. But I've been trying to make this full screen and failing every single time at doing so. So if I navigate here to the graphics, you can see it's at 1280 by 800 windowed borderless. So it should be showing up in the middle of the screen, but it isn't. And if I set it to full screen, let's apply that. It's enter. this is what it thinks is full screen. So, yeah, we're pretty screwed here. Also, in the full screen mode, we do have the 2560 by 1600 resolution available, which also puts the game right there. And if I select like 1920 by 1200, it's exactly the same thing. It's just, I'm gonna do Alt-Enter as well, window borderless, full screen. Let's do windowed actually, 800 by 600. Okay, so that's showing up properly. And now we can move it to the middle of the screen, and it's so bad, dude. Also, I'm just noticing that in windowed mode, this is the biggest resolution of the display. So I'm gonna apply it, and yeah, it shows like this. So I know why this is happening. It's because the actual display of this handheld PC, if I go here into the Radeon settings, you can see it, I think. So horizontal is a lower value than vertical because the display is not aligned horizontally. Like usual, you'd see like in a desktop PC, a laptop PC, it's aligned like this. This one is aligned like this. So this is the actual native display aspect ratio of this console PC. And for some reason, none of the games had a problem so far with this. But Red Dead Redemption 2 is having a major problem here. And with the Onexplayer X1 that I tried previously, that didn't have a problem either. So, very weird stuff, guys. So I guess we're gonna do 720p in Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm gonna hide this bar over here. There we go. The taskbar is hidden now, and we'll have to play like this. Yes, it's 720p resolution because I can't make it 16 by 10 or 16 by 9 at a higher resolution, unfortunately, without it being crap. Well, let's try it out. And here we have it. It's actually quite blurry because of TAA. I'm going to start counting the FPS. There we go. And it is a smooth experience. It is above 60 FPS all of the time. It's 720p resolution as well, but I mean, at 1200p resolution, it would probably still be pretty good at like 50 FPS or so. And these settings don't look terrible. Yes, it's the lowest settings, but the textures are still on ultra, so that's the most important thing, I guess, when it comes to Red Dead Redemption 2. Obviously, you could increase the settings if you kept it at 800p resolution, for example, or 720p, which is the case right now. But yeah, the fact that it just can't use the proper resolution of the display annoys the hell out of me. I was around this issue trying to figure it out yesterday for about an hour. Today, well, you saw that it didn't do anything. I tried enabling and disabling resizable bar as well in the BIOS because, you know, maybe that would fix it. Very unlikely, but yeah, I tried a bunch of different things, guys, and it never worked. So hopefully Onexplayer can look into this as well. Yeah, it is a shame because this could have been a really nice game to play on this thing, and you can see the frame time graph is actually really stable, no stutters so far at all. Really good experience here, and it's an amazing game, of course. It has an awesome storyline. The graphics still look decent, even though TAA is very crappy in this game, though. But again, if you were running a higher resolution here on this small display, it would look pretty good anyways. I really was looking forward to testing Red Dead Redemption 2 and Kill Bob and all of that crap, but yeah. Where's Bob, by the way? Speaking of, we still can kill Bob, obviously. It's just that we're not using proper settings here. There he is. There he is. Wait. Okay, I want the lasso over here. Let's go, Bob. Yeah, there it is. Here we go, Strawberry Town. It's usually pretty intensive because it's a very intensive area in the game, you know, not as intensive as Saint Denis at nighttime, for example, but that's only slightly more intensive than this, honestly, and this is easier to just come here and check it out. So yeah, it doesn't even drop from 60 FPS here at 720p resolution. Really good performance once again for an iGPU at 30 watts of power. It's just a shame, once again, that we can't properly adjust things. Lastly, we have Marvel Rivals at the 1200p resolution FSR3 performance. Frame gen is turned off at the moment and the lowest settings. This is a UE5 title. It's a really intensive one and it shows right here. It's getting 60s, 70s and nothing is happening. So when things start to heat up, why are we not attacking this team? Where are you guys? Hello? We need to attack this thing. At least we can see Jack here in this game, so that's great. Amazing, right? But yeah, it will inevitably drop into the 50s, which is not that great, honestly, especially for a competitive shooter like this one. That was friendly, yes. So... I don't know, guys. I mean, for the price, let's do a little bit of a conclusion here, shall we? For the price, it's definitely lackluster in terms of performance, of course. That's expected from a handheld device, but it's also the best handheld device out there at the moment, as far as I'm aware. Like, we got that Radeon 890M GPU, which is really good, of course. 30 watts of power, but that's completely normal for handhelds. And the Ryzen AI 9 X370 CPU is also kind of a little beast hidden inside of this machine. So specs wise, again, it's a really nice handheld, but the price, man, like, it's way too steep. $1,300, actually above that. Yeah, I don't know, man. You actually gotta be looking for something like this with a big screen. Also, the screen is a little bit too high resolution in my opinion. They should put like a 1200p resolution maximum screen on this. Still 120 Hz, because that's awesome. But also, I have been playing games that are actually really intensive. So if you go ahead and play like indie titles, the vast majority of them are going to play absolutely flawlessly on this thing while looking amazing and crispy with that 1600p display, you know, 120 Hz. And super vibrant as well. The colors really pop on this screen. I really enjoy it. And that's what I use this for the most, you know, at least the X1. I did play tons of indies there, and it was a gorgeous experience. Like, I've been playing a lot of Cult of the Lamb now recently with this machine right here, and it's just a lot of fun. By the way, right now I'm playing Elden Ring at 1280 by 800 resolution, high settings here. Let's just disable the motion blur. Oh, we're being attacked. Actually, this is terrible. Okay, Roach, let's go, buddy, everything is fine. But well, talking about the price again, guys, it's very steep once again, but you gotta remember that this is a 3-in-1 device as well. It not only is a fantastic handheld device, it's also a laptop, like we're using it right now, and also a tablet. So there are not really many machines that can do it all like this one does, compact size and so on. It's really nice, you know? So yeah, of course that factors into the price, and it's one of the reasons why it's so damn expensive. Now, things that I would like for them to improve in the next iteration of the Onexplayer X, I guess 2, would be maybe a little bit thicker of a device. It's already really thick, don't get me wrong, but I would like to see them reinvent the cooling system a little bit, because it's quite loud at 30 watts, and in these AAA titles, at least, you will want to use the 30 watts here. I mean, we're getting 40 FPS, nothing amazing really, at 800p resolution and high settings in Elden Ring. Obviously, we can lower down the settings and achieve a little bit higher frames, but it seems like we are CPU bound here, because that GPU is not even maxing out at the moment here, so yeah, stuttering a little bit as well. So yeah, I think pushing the APU to like 45 watts would definitely be beneficial, and it seems like it has some thermal headroom as well, so I'm not sure why they didn't push it further here. So yeah, I'm definitely going to keep this one to play my indies with, and some AAA stuff as well. As we saw, it does pretty well in a lot of titles. It's not without its problems due to Windows and also that vertical display and stuff. Yeah, I hope they fix that eventually, but again, prototype unit right here, so that's probably due to that. And yeah, I'm really enjoying my time with this, and I'll keep enjoying it. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed as well, and I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.